There are no wizards.
Doctor Strange
Is a sorcerer.
A sorcerer is a wizard without a hat. Every time we fight one of the three.
So who are you fighting now, Gandalf?
How do you know about Gandalf?
I read The Hobbit in 1937 when it first came out.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 2 video. There were a whole bunch of Marvel Easter eggs for the movies, from the comics, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, I'm doing videos for all the episodes, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. We're also doing a giveaway for Disney Plus memberships. All you have to do to enter is just be a subscriber and leave your favorite moment from the episode on the video. Careful for spoilers if you have not seen the episode yet, obviously, and we'll just go through the episode shot by shot and talk about Easter eggs as we go along. Starting with the title of the episode, The Star-Spangled Man. That's a direct reference to U.S. Agent Captain America. They even call him the Star-Spangled Man during the actual episode. He is John Walker from the comics. Even if you're not a huge comic book reader, you probably at least heard of U.S. Agent or John Walker at some point. He's been a version of Captain America in the comics before, so this is them just doing the comic book plot. He was actually kind of a Captain America villain for a little while, but the way they play him in the episode is trying to be a little bit more complex about it. Like, they try to bill him as the perfect candidate for the next Captain America, at least on paper. You can kind of see where things slowly start to go off the rails a little bit. They're trying to lay the seeds for that. Like, they just introduced his character, so it's going to be an episode or two before he really starts to go off the rails. So you kind of see how they're laying the seeds for the idea that maybe Falcon is potentially the better candidate for Captain America. Like, that's the whole idea of the series, that he was supposed to become the next Captain America, but he chose not to when he gave the shield back. But the whole idea with the Star-Spangled name is that it also reminds you of Star-Spangled Banner, is in a reference to the flag, and that's juxtaposed with the villain group, the Flag Smashers, as in the U.S. Agent Smashers, which she does later in the episode. Really easy way to find out that he has not been enhanced, quote-unquote, in any way, at least yet. So we'll get to that, because there's all the super soldier serum stuff flying around on the show now. The actual episode begins, though, with him unzipping his jacket to, basically unveil himself in his new Captain America costume, which is based on his comic book costume, except it's more blue than it is black. Like, he had a couple different variations of the costume when he was Captain America. You find out that they've gone back to his hometown high school to unveil him to the world as new Captain America, but he's sort of in the middle of this PR tour, so they've been doing this all over the place. The opening theme song is different. They're kind of doing the Wandavision thing, where the opening theme songs are just a little bit different in each of the episodes, but this time it's the band later that's actually playing him onto the field. In that whole opening speech of his, where he's trying to wrap his mind around the expectations that the world has for him and not wanting to let them down in becoming the new Captain America, is just to let you know that he's at least trying to be a good Captain America. The way the producers and the writers talk about his character and the way they're using him on the series is that you could be doing everything right, but still not be the right person for the job. So that's the whole idea, is that he's perfect on paper, but he still won't be the right person to be the next Captain America. That's supposed to be Falcon. You meet his friend Lamar Hoskins, who is based on a comic book character, Battlestar. He even says later in the episode, "Oh, my name's Battlestar," and Bucky's like, "What?" At least in the comics, Battlestar did get a version of super strength and abilities from the Powerbroker, who is a character that it seems like they're doing on the TV series. They referenced his name during the episode, but it's still a bit of a mystery as to who he actually is. Most of Battlestar's abilities were like lesser versions of what happened to Captain America. The whole idea with the Powerbroker character, there was an Easter egg for him during the credits last week, so just confirming that he is going to be a big character on the show. He was the head of a criminal organization that later tried to replicate the super soldier serum, and it's kind of what's happening on the show right now in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like the Flag Smashers, Bucky says there are 8 new super soldiers running around. Where did they get their super soldier serum from? Because they all sound like they're British. They do this big highlight reel for U.S. Agent, showing you all of his accomplishments, his awards, all of his stats off, like he was always top of his class and everything, top performance in the military. He has all these awards for heroism. He's like the model soldier that everyone would normally look up to. Like I said, the whole idea is that he's meant to be perfect on paper in terms of possibly becoming the next Captain America. He references Iron Man and the Hulk, even though he calls him Dr. Banner. Remember, the world knows about the Avengers. They're all celebrities in a certain sense, and they even reference that later in the episode when Falcon almost gets arrested by those regular uniform cops. Like, "Oh, crap, you're the Avengers, sorry." He compares himself to Steve Rogers' Captain America a little. He explains his timeline in the MCU as well. He says he was just out of West Point when Cap came out of the ice in the first Avengers movie, which is like college for military officers. So all through the timeline of the Avengers movies, he was following and watching Captain America, just trying to copy all of his moves. sort of like a Captain America fanboy. Like, I'm sure all military officers were Captain America fanboys. But then you cut to Bucky's reaction as he's watching this all unfold, like he just can't believe this. And I love that he's still sitting on the floor, like he still hasn't gotten himself any furniture, which I think is just a function of his PTSD. His reaction is pretty much the exact same reaction that Rhodey, War Machine, had in episode 1. Like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you giving the shield back? This is the worst thing that you could possibly be doing right now. Then you get Falcon's reaction staring at the new Captain America poster at the Air Force Base where he runs all of his missions out of. Bucky takes him to task, telling him Captain America would not want this. Steve gave you the shield for a reason. This is sort of an ongoing argument that they have throughout the entire episode, and obviously it's going to continue in future episodes because Bucky's just going to be on him until finally he comes around and says, okay, fine, I'll take the shield back. I will be the new Captain America. They try to cut the tension by transitioning to that funny Doctor Strange scene that we all saw in the trailers. Falcon explains the Flag Smashers group, the mission he's going on, but he name drops the Big Three, and I also love that they reference this later with US Agent's character, like, oh, you're talking about the Big Three. Like, the Big Three is meant to be this common term that all military officers supposedly use. Androids, aliens, and wizards, which obviously is a reference to Thanos, also the events of the first Avengers movie with the shit-towering invasion. Androids is a reference to Ultron, and wizards, I guess you could say, is a reference to Caecilius in the Doctor Strange movie. Maybe they think of Loki as a wizard. Technically, Loki isn't a sorcerer either. Then Bucky surprises everyone by showing you he's a bigger nerd than you ever thought that he was. He totally understands magic classes. He's right, Doctor Strange is not a wizard. Falcon also technically correct in that sorcerers are like wizards without hats. They got into different magic classes a little bit during Wandavision, like the whole idea that Scarlet Witch draws her power from a different source than Doctor Strange draws his power from, and Agatha Harkness draws her power from a different source than both of them. Bucky makes his big Gandalf Hobbit reference, and the whole idea why he knows about Gandalf is because he read The Hobbit when it was originally published back in 1937. Just for reference, he would have been in his early 20s when that happened. I'm assuming he and Steve Rogers, because they grew up together as friends, he would have also probably read The Hobbit as well. But the reason why he's referencing The Hobbit, instead of connecting Gandalf to The Lord of the Rings, which are technically a more famous story, is because The Hobbit was published first. The Lord of the Rings books, like Fellowship of the Rings, wasn't published until the 1950s, and by that time, Bucky would have fully become the Winter Soldier for Hydra and been in cryostasis between missions in that Siberia base. Also, in the 1950s, there would have been the Korean War, so that's also just after he would have run into Isaiah Bradley and had his big fight with him. Don't worry, we'll talk all about Isaiah Bradley in a second. I was so happy that they included him in this episode. It was one of the coolest Easter eggs they've done so far. They go on the mission to Germany, and they know a little bit about the Flag Smashers, but it takes them the rest of the episode before they learn that Carly Morgenthau is their leader, Erin Kellyman's character. So she's based on the comic book version of Flag Smasher, even though they're using the Flag Smasher name for their entire group. But if it wasn't clear, she's meant to be the leader of their group. They have their funny bro-off moment, just their staring contest, foreshadowing the later staring contest that they have when they're in that therapy session. When they have that conversation about him not having a plan, like, oh, great, that's actually a callback to the first Avengers movie and the Winter Soldier movie. Iron Man had pretty much the exact same scene, I do have a plan, attack, as he jumps out the back of the Quinjet. Captain America had a similar moment at the beginning of the Winter Soldier movie when he just casually talks about his plan with Black Widow, then jumps out the back without a parachute. Also, Bucky, hilariously, having to jump out the back of the plane without a parachute, like, I'll probably be okay, it's only about 200 feet. They investigate the Flag Smashers moving those shipments of vaccine. They're pulling their whole Robin Hood operation. Later in the episode, they clarify that they're basically stealing supplies like medicine and taking it to displaced communities all over Europe. Because since the blip, governments of the world are trying to work together to get everybody back to where they originally came from. You have to imagine after the snap, the world kind of shifted around looking for more resources. So everybody wound up living in very different places from where they originally came from. But then they have the funny moment with Winter Soldier thinking that she's this lost little girl and she just kicks him right out the back and he discovers that they're all super soldiers. We have 8 new super soldiers. It's a really cool action scene that totally feels in the tone of a buddy cop movie. There's a bit of a funny moment where she totally destroys Red Wing on the spot. Everybody press F in the chat to pay respects. Red Wing did nothing wrong. Then an even funnier moment when US Agent Captain America flies in with Battlestar and they're playing it as if they're meant to be the better version of Falcon and Winter Soldier. But they both too get their asses handed to them, mostly because US Agent does not have any enhancements or super soldier serum yet. There were a couple moments where they showed you some of Bucky's abilities too, because he has the super soldier serum, so he can run super fast just like Captain America, but the reason why they are able to pin him down is because they all have the super soldier serum, or a version of it. They follow it up with another funny WTF awkward moment when US Agent and his buddy Battlestar roll up and try to get them into the car like he's trying to be a nice guy, like, hey, why don't we work together, but kind of casually reveals that the government has been spying on Falcon this whole time. Well, technically Red Wing was government property, so is it really bad for us to be spying on you if it's our property? The answer is yes, it's still bad. I love all of Winter Soldier's reactions to US Agent, like he is just not having any of this. You are not Captain America. Just because you have that shield, how dare you stand where he stood? You are not Captain America. For the most part though, US Agent is trying to be the nice guy, like he's trying to work with them. I think though, like I said, later in the series, we're gonna see some cracks start to show, like at the end of the episode where he says, stay the hell out of my way. He'll probably turn from really nice guy to more and more hardcore in his pursuit of the Flag Smashers. Later, though, the Flag Smashers arrive at that safe house, seemingly from some random sympathizer who's just part of the message boards where everyone talks about their group and thinks of them as freedom fighters, like they call them Robin Hood. She gets the mystery text from the Powerbroker saying that he's going to kill her for stealing all the vaccine stuff that she stole in those 18-wheelers. There was the big Baron Zemo reveal at the end of the series, but I'm not totally ready to say that he's the Powerbroker. It could still be potentially someone else, like Thunderbolt Ross could be the Powerbroker, it could be another totally different character. If they are following the comics, he is going to be a completely separate person that we haven't met yet, but I'm expecting a couple big twists with his character, like he's just meant to be the shadowy villain behind the scenes right now. Like Baron Zemo, yes, he's a villain, but I don't think he's going to wind up being the main villain of the series, and yes, the Flag Smashers seem like the villain, that's the way they're painting them, but they're more like freedom fighters that are slowly going off the rails, so we'll see who winds up being the worst villains by the end of the series. When they reference the GRC caring more about the blipped people than they do about them, the people who did not get snapped, they're referencing the Global Repatriation Committee, and there's a poster for their organization in the police station when Bucky gets arrested later in the episode. I believe their group is a coalition of world governments that's sort of responsible for getting all the blip people and the non-snapped people back to their original countries and homes that they came from. But for the most part, the Flag Smashers seem like they're all British. There's still this big question about where they got their super soldier serum from. Back on the plane, Falcon makes a reference to Captain America Civil War when Bucky tells him we should just take the shield from US Agent. Falcon tries to remind him that we were basically all criminals after Civil War. You remember what happened? He references Sharon Carter just because she's going to show up on the series real soon, so they're kind of reminding you that she exists. Like, hey, remember that character, Sharon Carter? She'll be showing up real soon. Then when he talks about Cap and them being on the run for 2 years doing their whole Secret Avengers thing, if it wasn't clear, during that time period, Iron Man actually was helping them duck Thunderbolt Ross and the World Security Council. That's why there weren't any governments that were able to capture them or throw them in jail during that period. They make a couple funny references to their comic book names between some of these scenes too, like he calls him White Panther because he was in Wakanda. No, it's White Wolf, and Falcon gets all upset like, oh, wait a minute, I wanted a cool Wakanda name too. Then later in the episode, outside of Isaiah Bradley's house, that little kid calls Falcon Black Falcon. Like, no, it's just Falcon Kid. But then Bucky's big idea is to take Falcon to meet Isaiah Bradley, the OG African-American Captain America. So if you never read the comics, you're not familiar with his character. After Captain America went in the ice, he was the person the government tested the super soldier serum on when they were trying to replicate the original serum that they gave to Steve Rogers. There were 300 people as part of his test group, and Isaiah Bradley was the only person who survived. It's meant to be a reference to a real thing that the US military did during World War II. But during World War II, the US military tested a bunch of gas mask technology on black soldiers and wound up poisoning, killing, hurting a lot of them, later had to make a really big public apology. That's also what they're referencing when Isaiah Bradley talks about being quote-unquote thrown in prison and being tested on by the US military all those years. But the whole backstory behind Bucky knowing Isaiah Bradley is that during the Korean War in the 1950s, they had a skirmish because Bucky was Hydra, he was brainwashed during this period, and he was going up against the US soldiers. Eventually, because he killed all the people they sent after him, the US military sent in Isaiah Bradley after he survived his super soldier serum tests. The way Isaiah Bradley tells it too, he completely thrashed Winter Soldier, ripped half of his arm off. I just wanted to see if you got your arm back. They also let you know that he's still every bit as strong as he used to be. I mean, obviously he's much older now, but he still has most of his super strength. And when he says he was in prison for 30 years, I think the whole idea is the military just put him in a private facility so that they could test him for 30 years. So even though it wasn't formally a prison, it was like a prison for him. He also reveals that Bucky's people, the Hydra people, kept sending agents to try and kill him over all those years too, because he was one of the people that they feared most, as Bucky says, like Captain America. Also really cool side note, his grandson here, who's taking care of him or helping take care of him, is Elijah Bradley, aka Patriot, from the Marvel Young Avengers team. So we might see this character come back in a future Young Avengers project, because we're kind of seeing those characters pop up like on WandaVision with the twins. Bucky clarifies the reason why Steve Rogers' Captain America never found out about Isaiah Bradley, because he probably would have tried to help him if he did, is because Bucky never told him and his existence was so top secret that Cap never found out about it. But I think the whole idea is that in Falcon eventually becoming the new Captain America, eventually they'll bring Isaiah Bradley back and give him some of the recognition that he deserves. Like they're going to pay that off before the finale at some point. Then Falcon almost gets arrested by a couple of really idiot cops who then realize that they're the Avengers, but Bucky still has to be arrested because he missed his therapy. They have another funny run-in with US Agent who they still totally hate, like, oh, not this guy bailing me out of jail. You even find out the therapist knows him because they ran missions together back when she was in the military. They do all those funny couples therapy scenes that they had during the trailer. She even makes a direct reference to couples therapy, like I use this when I'm talking to couples that are talking about making relationships with each other. They call the staring contest the soul-gazing exercise, and eventually they do have it out over Falcon giving up the shield, but the way they leave things just lets you know that it's going to continue in each of the episodes, like he's going to keep staying on his case to take the shield back. But thanks for making it weird though, Doc. They have that big standoff with US Agent and Battlestar outside of the station, like, alright fine, we're not going to work together, best stay out of my way. That's obviously going to go south pretty fast. Then in Slovakia, you actually get a follow-up with the Powerbroker's men. At least they say that's who's coming for them. One of the Flag Smashers winds up sacrificing himself to allow the others to get away. I don't know who this lackey's name is or if he's playing a comic book character, but you see him phoning the Powerbroker to let him know that they got away, or whoever the Powerbroker is going to wind up being. Then they follow up with the Baron Zemo lead-in. Like Bucky says, we have to go see my people, we have to find out Hydra's secrets, and Baron Zemo knows all of Hydra's secrets. So we go back to Germany, and it's cell number 2187, which seems like a comic book reference to the Powerbroker, because the Powerbroker character debuted in the Captain America comics for the first time during 1987. So I don't know if they're trying to use this Easter egg to say that Baron Zemo is secretly the Powerbroker and he's been doing this from inside his cell, or if it'll wind up being somebody different, because Baron Zemo is not the Powerbroker in the comics, so I don't know if they're changing things or if they're trying to pull a fast one on us. I'm so happy to see Daniel Bruhl back. I did think that it was a little cliche with some of the other Easter eggs here, like they introduce him with the classical music and the chess set, like, oh, are we doing a Magneto X-Men thing? Like all evil guys play chess? Like at the end of the first X-Men movie where Professor X shows up inside his cell and they're playing chess together. I think that's just meant to be a bit of a reference to him being a mastermind on the series like Masters of Evil classic comic book Baron Zemo, because he will be wearing the classic comic book costume pretty soon. And he'll be pushing around the characters like Falcon and Winter Soldier like pieces on a chessboard. As for the Flag Smashers, the Super Soldier program, and the Weapons Plus program Easter eggs, I have a feeling that the Powerbroker will be connected to the Flag Smashers in a deeper way. Like in the comics, because the Powerbroker tried to replicate the Super Soldier program and gave a bunch of characters superpowers, maybe the Powerbroker in the MCU is also where all the Flag Smashers got their Super Soldier serum from. But you have to remember that all these other super soldiers that are running around got diluted forms of the serum. It's not the same thing as the original formula that Steve Rogers got, so it's not quite as potent. So even though they're not quite as strong, they're still really, really strong compared to normal people. The whole idea with Weapons Plus on the TV show is that it's sort of laying the seeds for eventual Weapon X. That's really the big payoff down the road with the new version of Wolverine. But Kevin Feige has already said that they haven't even gotten close to casting Wolverine, so I'm not expecting to see any huge Easter eggs for that. I think the closest we'll get to stuff like that is just them trying to tie all of this Weapons Plus Super Soldier stuff to Thunderbolt Ross in the events of the Incredible Hulk film with the Abomination and his Weapons Plus program. But I don't actually know if Thunderbolt Ross is supposed to have a cameo on the series, but in the way that they're trying to make everybody feel like they exist in this gray anti-hero area, like there aren't any true villains, there aren't any true heroes or anything like that, everybody just kind of shades of gray. The government, the military, people like Thunderbolt Ross are going to be doing things on the show that are just as shady as what's going on with the villain groups like the Flag Smashers and Baron Zemo. All this Weapons Plus Incredible Hulk stuff from Thunderbolt Ross might also be why US Agent directly references the Hulk at the beginning of the episode, just to start laying connections back to the Incredible Hulk film before they make any big reveals with the Super Soldier program. But everyone, let me know in the comments, who do you think the Powerbroker is going to wind up being? I've seen some people that want it to be Thunderbolt Ross, but I'm not expecting it to be him either. If you spotted any other big Easter eggs in the episode that I didn't mention in the video, just write them below in the comments. DC just dropped the brand new Suicide Squad trailer, so that'll be my next video, but I'll do some more Falcon and Winter Soldier bonus videos in the next couple of days. In my full episode 3 video, we'll post next Friday just like normal. So I'll update the link here at the end of the video for the Suicide Squad trailer when I post that later today, but you can also click here for my Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 1 video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.